Hello and welcome to part 2 of Simple Spooky Pinterest Recipe Hacks. I'm Val from Very Vegan Val, and today we're going to bring you even more super simple, easy, vegan Halloween recipes found via Pinterest and evaluate them based on whether 1, they are easy, 2, they are spooky, and 3, we want to eat them. If you haven't already seen part 1, go ahead and check that out. We also have another version of this video that we did for savory snacks, so you can check that one out as well. But for now, let's get started. Let's start things off with something easy. Let's use clementines. We've got our clementines and we're going to start off by peeling them. I'm going to delicately score the skin with a knife. Now, I'm doing this very meticulously because we're going to do something with those skins later, but if you're not doing that, just peel them like a normal person. I feel like this could be like a 5-minute hacks video on how to peel a clementine. Loosening from the bottom. Ah, look at that. They said it couldn't be done, but here we have a clementine and a clementine peel, both undamaged. Now I'm just gonna do that a couple more times. Now we're turning these into pumpkins, so we're gonna want a stem. The original recipe used, I believe, little pieces of Granny Smith apple, but I don't have that, so ours are gonna have collard green stems. We're just gonna cut them in half and just stick them in the top of your clementines. Recipe number 1 is done. Now that our first snack is ready to go, let's bring it back to a classic and make ourselves some spiders. We're gonna start with some store brand Oreos. And if you do get store brand Oreos like I did, make sure that you check that they're vegan because sometimes they do actually add milk powder to these. Looking at my pretzels next to my Oreos, I think I got ones that are too big. It's okay, we're just gonna cut them in half and make do. I'm going to follow the original creator's vision and put 6 legs on my spiders. We're gonna add a little bit of melted chocolate on the sides. I'm just gonna add it all the way around. I do notice that these non-Oreo Oreos have a bigger gap in between the cream and the cookie. And then we'll just stick our pretzel pieces into that chocolate. And then we're gonna top with the eyes. And again, we're using 2 eyes because I guess with spiders, it's about spookiness, not about actual anatomy. Sorry, spiders. And yeah, one of my spiders has to be anatomically correct at least, so. 8, excellent, 8 eyes. We're gonna set these into the fridge so that all the chocolate will harden. Spiders aren't the only creepy crawly we're gonna be making today. Let's make some worms too. For this next recipe, we're gonna need straws and a cup. And we're gonna use these bendy straws pulled out so the ridges will look kind of like the ridges on an earthworm. And we're putting them with the bendy side down. We're starting to get full, perfect. We're gonna add a cup of juice. I am using guava juice because I like the pink color. Tastes good too. You could add a sweetener if you want, but I'm using guava juice, which is very sweet, so I don't think we're gonna do that. In fact, I'm gonna add the juice of half a lemon to make it a bit more acidic. We're gonna get this heating, and then we're gonna add some agar powder. I'm gonna add 2 teaspoons of the powder to our juice, and note this is the powder, not the flakes, because they are different. The biggest issue people have with not getting their agar to set is in not cooking it long enough. So I'm gonna bring it to a simmer and then let it simmer for a full 3 minutes. I'm just gonna close this. You'll have to trust me that it's simmering. I don't wanna ruin my lens. I'm gonna pour it into another container that has a spout, and we're just gonna let it cool down a little bit because we don't want to melt the straws. If you're wondering if this is food safe or not, I do not know. Now we've got our straws, and I'm just gonna pour roughly into the center because they should all kind of level out as they fill up. Watch the side of the cup as you're doing this. You don't want to overfill. So I'm just going to set this in the fridge and let the agar completely set. Before we get started on our last recipe, did you know that jack-o'-lanterns were originally made with turnips? Carved vegetable lanterns were being made in Ireland long before they had access to American pumpkins. It all starts with the legend of Stingy Jack. Now, Stingy Jack invited the devil to have a drink with him, but then he didn't really want to pay for his drink. Now, common sense would say if you invite someone to have a drink with you, it is polite to pay for the drink. And certainly if it is the devil, well, firstly, don't invite him to have a drink with you, but then also, stay on his good side. Just pay for the drink. But Jack instead convinced the devil to shapeshift into the shape of a coin so that he could pay, I guess, with the devil himself. Rather than do that, though, he drank and dashed, pocketed the coin, and kept it next to a silver cross, which apparently limits the devil's powers, so he was not able to switch back. After a period of time, he did agree to let the devil turn back into his original form under the condition that the devil could not have his soul. Well, it turns out when you're not such a good guy, like Stingy Jack apparently wasn't, God doesn't really want you either. So after he died, Jack was left with nowhere for his soul to go. Instead, he was left to roam the earth using a coal for light that he kept in a carved turnip. When Irish immigrants later came to the Americas, they brought that tradition with them. And it was quickly adapted to the tradition we have today, where we carve faces into beautiful autumnal pumpkins. So for our final treat, we're gonna make some jack-o'-lanterns. The original pin doesn't actually lead to a website, but I'm guessing the first step is going to be to draw some faces on our pumpkins. Now, it does feel weird to use Sharpie, but we're not going to be eating these, so I think it's fine. Again, I haven't done any research on if this is fine. I'm just kind of hoping it is, because I think Sharpie is going to draw the best. The skin of the Clementine does not want me to draw on it. Let me try a different tool. I'm gonna try going in with a paint marker. Yes, this is much easier. If you do happen to have paint markers, recommend. All right, I got this Jello pistachio pudding, which, no, there's no gelatin in it. No worries, it is vegan. However, kind of blowing my mind that apparently I can mix it with cold milk and it will set. All right, I mean, we will try it. Got my bowl, got my pudding. Now, the original pin used some kind of a chocolate mousse, but since there was also literally no website or no recipe to go with that pin, I'm just gonna use what I want, which in this case is an instant pudding, which I've never really tried. Now, I will say that pin came from somewhere, right? So someone did make this recipe, and this is no disrespect for that person. Milk into the pudding. Grab our whisk. I've whisked. I'm gonna place our little pumpkins on my eggplant plate. I do have two that are a little bit torn, so I'm just gonna actually try and put a little patch in with the tops. And now, let me just fill them up. Cute. All right, it says it will be set within 5 minutes. So I guess now we just wait. Reminder, I am going to be evaluating all of these recipes on their easiness, on their spookiness, and on their deliciousness. And then after I'm done, I'm going to compare all of them, including the ones that I did from last week, and tell you which my overall favorites were. All right, let's get started with our pumpkin clementines. Now, these little guys are cute. The colored stems are cute. They do mostly look like clementines, but just the addition of that little stem really does make them read pumpkinish, especially when paired with a big pumpkin. So for ease, of course, this is gonna get a 5. This could not be simpler. And then for effectiveness, I'll give it a 3. For taste, that happens to be a really good mandarin. I'm also gonna give it a 3 because it's nice, but it is just a clementine. Next up are spiders. This is definitely my favorite of the spiders. It is the most anatomically correct. It has the right amount of eyes. It has the right amount of legs. It's the one I'm gonna be eating. Before I get into that, let me just say, in terms of ease, oddly, I think it would have been easier if I used name brand Oreos, because what made this a little bit challenging was that the layer of cream was very thin and there was a big gap between where the edge of the cream was and where the edge of the cookie was. So, fun fact, name brands sometimes are maybe better for some reasons. You know, I have actually found that non-name brand Oreo alternatives taste different from Oreos. And I think the reason is they don't use black cocoa. And these do taste different. Honestly, they're not as good. I hate to be that person because I'm really not like a name brand person, but like maybe name brand Oreos are worth it. Like really, I would say that the Oreo with the pretzel, the sweet and the salty, plus that extra added chocolate is a really nice bite. I give this a 5 out of 5. In terms of effectiveness, I'm gonna give it a 4 out of 5. I think the fact that the pretzel legs aren't the same color as the spider is a bit of a drawback, but I do like how they look. And in terms of ease, I'm going to give it a 3.5 out of 5 because it was relatively easy. And I do think if you used actual Oreos, it might even be easier. Next, worms. I don't think these look like worms. Biggest drawback so far. I think they look like straws. And I think that's because we used agar and it ends up being more brittle than gelatin. So it's not bending in the same way. It's like very much a straight line and it breaks more easily. Fortunately, it doesn't include dead animal bones, so that's a big plus for me. But in terms of looking like worms, I don't think it really works. So I'm gonna give this a 2 out of 5. In terms of easiness, the hardest part was definitely getting the worms out of the straws. It wasn't really altogether that difficult, but it did create a ton of plastic waste, a level that honestly I find kind of disturbing. You could reuse these if you want to make them a lot. I don't know how many times you could reuse them before they would start to break, but yeah, the amount of plastic waste created is definitely a big downside. For me, it reduces the easiness score because it is harder upon my heart to do it. So I would give the easiness for this one a 2 out of 5. Finally, let's talk taste. It is a little bit softer than like a gummy worm per se, and I like it more. It has a really interesting texture. I would love to put this in like a boba or something. I think that would be really nice. The guava flavor is delicious. Taste, I give this a 4.5 out of 5. And finally, our little pumpkin puddings. Let me bring this to you and show you something that is not close to being set. It is jiggly, it is liquid. And let me show you something else. Here are the instructions for making the pudding, and right here it says note. For directions using non-dairy milk, go to jello.com. Coincidentally, that is actually not where the directions are, but yeah. So after it was not setting, I went and I looked at the box again and I saw that note and I went and looked at the directions, and apparently you're only supposed to use about half as much liquid using non-dairy milk. So I don't think this is ever going to set. You can taste it anyway though. Cheers. Even if that did set, I would not want to eat it. That is stupidly sweet and tastes like almonds, but nothing like pistachios. Here's what I will say. As a concept, the idea of using clementines as little dishes for maybe different puddings or mousses or even ice cream bowls, I like. I give that concept and look a 4 out of 5. Out of ease, it is a 5 out of 5. And taste, I mean, it's a 1. It's my own fault. And it's Jell-O's fault for making such a disgusting pudding. Now, if I were to do this again, I would make a chocolate mousse or a chocolate ganache, and I would add some orange to it to tie in the peel and the dessert. I think that would be delicious. In my mind, I give that a 5 out of 5. I want you to try it. I want you to try it and tell me, is it a 5 out of 5? I need to know. Let me know in the comments. Also, thanks for being here. I appreciate it. You're great. I had so much fun making all these Pinterest Halloween recipe hacks, and I would love it if you'd subscribe and stick around for the next video. Bye-bye. There, and welcome to another week of spooky recipes. Oh, hi, Doug. Hello, you want to join? You want to join? Hello, you want to be in the video? I do the dancing? No, you just want attention and walkies? Yeah, that's true. That's my beautiful man. That's my Dougie boy. I love you.